been lying in bed at 2 a.m. and thinking, hey, what if Bikini Bottom had like actual laws? No. Oh, instead of doing normal adult things like filing my taxes, I've wasted the entire week binge watching every single SpongeBob episode. And let me tell you, Squidward Tentacles is going to face some serious jail time. Yes, I am. And watch your head. I'll be ranking the big-nosed octopus's crimes from petty misdemeanors to offenses so heinous they put plankton to shame. And I see no better way to start us off than talking about the time when Squidward literally exposed himself in public. See, Mr. Krabs is taken to the hospital after this completely avoidable accident. No! I got it, boy. You gotta help me, SpongeBob. You've gotta let go of the dying. I can think of 10 good reasons to never let go of a dying. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Squidward is left in charge of the Krusty Krab, and naturally, the selfish cephalopod seizes this opportunity to take the day off, leaving SpongeBob to run the restaurant while he puts his tentacles up at home. I mean run a few errands. The day becomes anything but relaxing. Paranoid that SpongeBob will destroy the Krusty Krab, Squid runs back to work again and again, slipping further into insanity each time he fails to catch his coworker messing up. And we haven't even reached the peak of Squidward's mental breakdown. Squid tries to have a calming soak in the tub, but how can he possibly relax when Sponge Branch and Sponge Toilet are spying on him? To be fair, that toilet did kind of look like SpongeBob wearing his 2 Krusty Krab hats. But anyway, this is where Squidward completely loses the plot. After seeing SpongeBob swim down his bathtub drain, Squidward races out of the house to try and beat SpongeBob to the Krusty Krab. And as you can see, there's nothing but a few bubbles covering his nether regions. On his way to the Krusty Krab, he passes a mother and kid in need of eye bleach, Patrick, who is oddly impressed by the whole situation, and Mr. Krabs, who is now ready to leave the hospital. Ah, you can't beat me! Or maybe not. When Squid finally reaches the restaurant, he fully exposes himself to SpongeBob behind the counter. Thankfully, the closed sign had accidentally been left up that day, so customers were spared the sight of Squid in his birthday suit. They had a lucky escape, but Squidward might not be so lucky himself. As Hawaii is the closest U.S. state to Bikini Atoll, the real-life island Bikini Bottom is supposedly situated under, I'll be using Hawaiian law to judge how Squid would be charged for his crimes. And yeah, it's not really looking too good. Hawaii gives out harsh punishments, even for petty misdemeanors like indecent exposure. Squid could be facing fines up to $1,000 or even 30 days in the Bikini Bottom jail, but I guess that's karma for taking the day off without permission. Littering is the one crime we regularly see Squidward getting called out for in the show, but in the episode Keep Bikini Bottom Beautiful, he becomes like the biggest litter bug of all time. After becoming jealous of the statue Squilliam received for litter picking, Squidward tries to gather as much garbage as possible so that he can get his own, but it looks like he didn't really think ahead as he has nowhere to discard the trash. But fear not, SpongeBob can help. In the end, SpongeBob makes his depressed friend a statue of his own, kind of. While tickets land Bikini Bottom litter bugs with community service in the real world, Squidward could be charged with criminal littering and even given a fine of up to $1,000. Criminal litterers are basically the worst kinds of litterers. Squiddy would need to have littered at least $500 worth of items to be found guilty of this, and judging by that gigantic trash statue, I think that's pretty darn close. Remember the episode Just One Bite? Squidward sneaks into the Krusty Krab after hours to snack on some Krabby Patties because he's too snobby to admit he just loves the greasy fast food sandwich. I admit it, SpongeBob. I love Krabby Patties. Even though he's an employee, he didn't have permission to enter the building after hours, so he's trespassing. And there was even a deleted scene in the episode where the trespasser ends up in a, let's say, fiery situation. This is our burglar alarm? A bucket of water? Hey, this isn't water. This is gas. Making a DIY booby trap instead of spending money on a security alarm, it's just typical Mr. Krabs. Trespassing is a serious crime, and that means jail time for good old Squiddy. He'd be locked away for a whole month, plus get slapped with a fine of up to $1,000. But maybe the judge would go easy on him because he's already suffered third-degree burns. Plus, he didn't trespass with the intent to harm anyone. In opposite day, SpongeBob and Patrick get on Squidward's nerves for the last time. Surprise! Happy birthday, Squidward! Happy birthday! Paper tail is yours! It's not my birthday! It wasn't even the guy's birthday. Squidward decides he's gonna move far, far away from SpongeBob and Patrick. But first, he's gotta sell his house. And selling your house is not an easy job when you've got troublesome neighbors on both sides. The next morning, Squidward tells SpongeBob that today is opposite day, hoping the made-up holiday will keep his pesky neighbor quiet and out of the way while the real estate agent visits. But like most of Squid's ideas, this one will probably backfire too. Isn't it beautiful? On opposite day it is. And dude, you can't help but admire just how committed SpongeBob is to celebrating this holiday. While Squidward rushes to fix SpongeBob's house, the real estate agent arrives without him noticing. Mr. Squidward and Mr. Squidward ruin the house tour by describing all the negatives about the house instead of the positives, and just generally creeping the lady out big time. Okay, I really don't want to hear another one. Okay. I really don't want to hear more, thank you. Squid comes to the rescue, but makes the real estate agent even more angry when he introduces himself as yet another Squidward. The lady storms out of the house, and Squidward does this. No! Please sell my house. Never! Don't leave me here! How pathetic. I can't blame him, though. Anyway, an act of harassment is defined as annoying or alarming someone through touch or by subjecting them to insults or taunts. As Squid is literally hanging off the woman's leg and refusing to let go, yeah, he's definitely harassing her. Harassment is a petty misdemeanor warranting 30 days in jail or a fine of up to $1,000, but hey, at least you'll get a month's break away from your neighbors, Squiddy. This wouldn't be a video about Squidward if I didn't talk about his clarinet. Everybody knows Squidward loves his clary, and everyone also knows that he's not exactly the next Mozart. You think I'm gonna be sick? Hey, come on, lady, it wasn't that bad. Luckily for Squid, his only neighbors are SpongeBob and Patrick, so no matter how loudly he plays his clarinet out of tune, those guys would never report their best buddy to the cops. But let's just imagine for a second that there was another less tolerant neighbor living on Conch Street. They could report Squidward for violating state regulations for community noise control. According to Hawaiian law, you're not allowed to make loud noise before 7 a.m. or after 10 p.m., and you're not permitted to make any unreasonable noise. I don't know about you guys, but this sounds pretty unreasonable to me. And he says SpongeBob and Patrick are bad neighbors. I think Squidward would get let off with a warning, but if he continued, he'd be facing fines of up to $10,000 this time. Heck, he probably wouldn't get reported at all if he actually played well. Disorderly conduct is where a person engages in a fight, engages in threatening or violent behavior, or makes unreasonable noise. And that just sounds like an average day for Squidward. Squid engages in disorderly conduct basically every time he's around SpongeBob and Patrick. I couldn't possibly cover every incident, so I've just made a list of the most memorable ones. Organizing the angry mob that threatens SpongeBob and Bubble Buddy, causing an awful ruckus when rehearsing, well, attempting to rehearse, his band for the Bubble Bowl RIP earphone users. Or participating in the Bikini Bottom riots in Sponge Out of Water, that epic snowball war he fought. Trying to run down SpongeBob and Patrick with a bulldozer. And the list goes on, but I digress. Disorderly conduct is another petty misdemeanor, and Squid could get a fine of up to $1,000 each time his conduct was unacceptable. So it looks like he'll be completely out of pocket. The next crime Squidward is guilty of is reckless endangering. According to the law, reckless endangering is a crime where you recklessly place another person in danger of death or serious bodily injury. And oh boy, Squidward has done this loads of times to SpongeBob in particular. And I can think of one major incident just like off the top of my head. April Fool's Day is SpongeBob's favorite holiday, and he's enjoying the day with a few harmless pranks that crack him up beyond belief. Squidward, however, is not really seeing the humor in it and can't take his colleagues' knowing laughter anymore. So he tries to show them what a real prank is all about. April Fools! Surely that's the end of Squidward's cruel prank. Lol, no. Oh, can't you, SpongeBob? Oops. This has got to be one of the top 10 worst pranks ever caught on camera. And after hours and hours of trying to say sorry to SpongeBob, Squidward finally finds it in his heart to apologize to his coworker and the pair make up. But I'm honestly shocked that Squidward was forgiven so easily. I mean, that was more than just a prank right there. SpongeBob could have died or been seriously injured. And that is exactly what reckless endangering is all about. Squiddy could have been thrown in jail for a whole year and given a fine of up to $2,000 for a sick prank. Not to mention he could have gotten an extra 10 years for causing serious bodily harm to that customer's butt, and another 30 days on top of that for causing damage to the Krusty Krab. Hey, there's nothing wrong with getting kisses from your grandma. Just ask SpongeBob. But having a kissy mark on your forehead can be a little embarrassing. Or I guess a lot embarrassing. Poor SpongeBob has been humiliated enough, but Squidward and the customers just don't stop there. Yep, they actually followed SpongeBob to his grandma's house and spied on him through the window. Pretty pathetic, huh? That's a violation of privacy right there. And as Squidward was amongst the group, he's guilty of stalking and could face up to 1 year in prison and a fine of up to $2,000. Mr. Krabs is trying to find a gimmick that'll bring more customers to the Krusty Krab. No SpongeBob winning a date with Squidward Tentacles isn't gonna cut it. Meanwhile, Squidward silently judges this weirdo for playing with his food. Yes, you're freakish. No. But turns out that guy wasn't a weirdo at all. He was a fiasco. Bikini Bottom's answer to Picasso, which means that plate of leftover food is now a priceless masterpiece. Oh, I can already see the dollar signs on Mr. K's eyes. The Krusty Krab transforms into an art museum, and customers must buy 2 Krabby Patties each if they want to look at the painting. But when the crew's back is turned, Plankton steals the artwork to find out the Krabby Patty's secret formula. On the run from the cops, he breaks into SpongeBob's house to hide. Patrick soon comes knocking, but ends up eating the fiasco masterpiece, mistaking it for some leftovers, which it literally was anyway, right? Wanting to get beauty sleep, Squidward calls the cops, lying about a ruckus and a disturbance inside the pineapple. Everyone in the house is taken to the slammer, but soon let go, apart from lying Squidward. Hey, don't I get a phone call? I don't think I need to be the one to tell you, but lying to the police is a big no-no, even in the SpongeBob universe. But how would his little stunt have gone down in the real world? Well, false reporting to the cops is a misdemeanor in Hawaii, warranting up to 1 year in prison and a fine of up to $2,000. Maybe Squid will think twice about lying from now on. And just when we thought Squidward couldn't get any more selfish, the episode I Was a Teenage Gary proved us all wrong. SpongeBob and Patrick are off to Ukulele Bottom for the annual jellyfishing convention, and Squidward agrees to take care of Gary for the weekend. But knowing how self-centered Squid is, we should probably have all seen this coming. The snail! I forgot the snail! Poor Gary, man. Left all alone without food or water for 3 whole days? Shame on you, Squidward. Jeez. A pet ambulance is called, and Squidward tries to give Gary a life-saving injection, but manages to screw that up too. Ouch. Squidward, you've injected me with snail plasma. Thankfully, it turns out the little guy just needed some water. He just needed water. And of course you remember what happens by the end of this episode. I haven't forgotten since I first saw it as a kid. It scarred me. SpongeBob and Squidward both just turn into snails. You clam up. Meow, meow. And while albeit 100% deserved for Squidward's part, according to Hawaiian law, anybody convicted of cruelty to animals will receive a fine of up to $2,000 and a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. Squidward can also kiss goodbye to Snelly because he'll also be banned from owning a pet for 5 whole years. We're only halfway through Squidward's questionable criminal past, and the big-nosed jerk's offenses have already earned him almost 2 decades in jail, plus fines of $28,000. And no, Squidward, you can't sell your art to pay for that. Everybody in Bikini Bottom thinks it's lame. And if you thought the crimes I've covered so far are crazy, oh, just you wait. The next part of this video shows you just truly how nuts Squidward can be. Squid just doesn't love love jellyfish like SpongeBob and Patrick do. I mean, isn't he the normal one here? Who would love an obnoxiously loud creature that can sting you? Squidward can sometimes be seen swatting at the jellyfish and just generally pissing them off. Stupid jellyfish! And that is a big no-no according to Hawaiian law. Pestering, or in some cases just touching the wildlife, is strictly forbidden and punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a maximum fine of $10,000. And the law cracks down even harder when it comes to endangered species. If we imagine the jellyfish are a protected species, yes, Squidward could be fined a staggering $50,000. But sometimes the animals take the law into their own hands. Now, I think we all know at this point, Squidward is no stranger when it comes to manipulating almost any situation he can to benefit himself. But he may have gone a bit too far in the episode Accidents Will Happen. Squidward is not at his post, causing a big riot from hungry customers. Mr. Krabs is looking for Squidward when, all of a sudden, what's all the ruckus? Yuck. Now those buns are covered in Mr. Krabs' tears and the germs of Squidward's tentacles. And I have no doubt the cheapskate will just be serving them up to customers anyway. Remind me why people eat here again? But something even worse is about to happen to Old Man K than those bacteria-ridden buns. $1. That's right. Mr. Krabs will have to pay a fine to the OWS since it was his own negligence that caused the accident. After begging Squidward to not report the accident and land him with a fine, Mr. Krabs gets blackmailed by Squid into waiting on him hand and foot. Later in the episode, Squidward is sunbathing on the roof of the Krusty Krab. His boss-turned-servant brings him tea and is forced to do this totally disgusting job. But wait, we're not done yet. It gets even worse. A customer orders a Krabby Patty, and the filthy crustacean doesn't even bother to clean Squidward's foot grease off of his claws when preparing the order, thus causing the customer to get sick. And when Mr. Krabs starts popping Squidward's back barnacles, all the customers in the restaurant walk out in disgust. Take me with you. Seriously, what is the secret ingredient to the Krabby Patty that makes it so worth it for people to keep coming back here? How does the Krusty Krab not have a worse reputation than the Chum Bucket? Anyway, an agent shows up from the OWS to investigate Squidward's accident. Squiddy claims the shelf broke and hit him on the head after he went to replace a bun that only had one seed less than the others. Knowing how little his employee cares for his job, Mr. K doubts Squidward's story. He checks the surveillance cameras installed in the kitchen, and the truth is revealed to everyone. Extortion is defined as the use of threats or coercion to obtain someone's property, labor, money, or services. It's basically a legal term for blackmail. As Squid never got any money out of Mr. Krabs for picking his accident, he'd likely be charged with extortion in the 3rd degree. That right there is a misdemeanor and punishable by up to 1 year in prison and a fine of up to $2,000. Plus, he's definitely going to get charged with fraud for lying about an accident in the first place. That would mean an extra $25,000 fine or up to 10 years in prison. While he's not a flat-out kleptomaniac, Squidward has stolen numerous items over the years, including Patrick's lunch, SpongeBob's diary, Squidward, I'll go you. We still hate you for that, by the way. Was it Tuya's wallet, the patties in the patty vault, and even a crane? Hawaii cracks down hard on theft, even for first-time offenders, which Squid would not be in real life. Therefore, he'd be facing a whopping $25,000 fine or even 10 years in prison. And that's just for one account of theft, by the way. It's crystal clear that Squidward is ashamed of his unsuccessful clarinet career and his job as a fast food cashier. I mean, the poor guy's ego is so fragile, he even did this. Here lie Squidward's hopes and dreams. What a baby. So it comes as no surprise that when given an opportunity to lie about who he is, he takes it and runs. Remember when he lied to Squilliam about owning a 5-star restaurant? When he passed off SpongeBob's artwork as his own? When he pretended to be a music teacher? That, my friends, is fraud and carries a sentence of up to 10 years in prison and fines of up to $25,000. Times that by 3 and Squid's got a total of 30 years behind bars. Hopefully he's allowed to bring his clarinet to pass the time. But in the show, Squidward does actually get caught for impersonating Squilliam and teaching his music class. Squidward Tentacles, I'm placing you under arrest for impersonating a genius. Assault is a Class B felony in Hawaii, and for Squidward to be guilty of it, he'd need to have intentionally caused serious bodily injury to another person. And you might be surprised to hear that he's done just that several times to multiple people. Let's revisit the episode Squidville. Squidward reaches the final straw with SpongeBob and Patrick for the final 1000th time and moves away to a gated community full of snobby, rude octopuses just like him. I've heard better comebacks from a turkey sandwich. Get a life. While it was a dream come true at first, his daily life quickly becomes boring and mundane without SpongeBob and Patrick's antics. I sorta don't feel like playing my clarinet today. By the way, did you know canned bread is a real thing? Like, it's actually a real thing. I thought I just made it up for the SpongeBob episode. No, it's real. I bought it, and it tastes like bread. Anyway, Squid eventually decides to break Tentacle Acres' status quo and have some fun by playing with a reef blower. But being typical Squidward, he takes things a bit too far and begins terrorizing the community with this reef blower. Squiddy attacks multiple unsuspecting residents in brutal ways, like this. And this, and even this. Assault is punishable by up to $25,000 in fines and up to 10 years behind bars. But as Squidward committed multiple acts of assault in that episode, he can expect to spend 40 years in jail. Not 30, because he attacked those two guys at the same time. Although I think the judge might lock him away in a mental health facility, because let's be honest, what sane person attacks others with a reef blower unprovoked? Shoot, even provoked. Like, what? Let's take a step back and rewind to probably the weirdest season 1 SpongeBob episode, Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost. Squidward has completed a wax figure of himself, but his happiness quickly diminishes when he hears SpongeBob and Patrick playing outside. Smile. And I really hate how the show makes Squidward out to be a talentless hack. Like, that wax figure looks so good and so realistic. In fact, Squid's art is so good that SpongeBob and Patrick believe the sculpture is really him. Or that they're really stupid. Or both. Imagine dying because a chubby starfish sat on your head. Real Squidward then emerges from the shower and SpongeBob and Patrick beg his ghosts not to harm them. Doing what he does best, Squidward forces the pair to pamper him instead of telling them the truth. Hey, great, fresh from the vine, your ghostliness. One watermelon, fresh from the manure field, your spookiness. At the end of the episode, Squidward reveals that he is alive. Not bald, guys, but SpongeBob won't accept that and tries to help Squid's spirit move on to the other side. I sometimes forget how tiny the citizens of Bikini Bottom actually are. While Squidward won't be 6 feet under, he could be spending up to 20 years 6 feet behind bars before SpongeBob and Patrick into working for him, and who knows how long the unpaid labor would have continued if SpongeBob didn't try to lay Squidward's ghost to rest. And Squidward would also be charged with faking his own death. That alone could get him an extra 1 to 2 years in jail. I still can't get my head around how Squidward literally tied up his boss, tortured him, and somehow managed to keep his job in the end. SpongeBob watches a movie about killer robots taking over the world, and being the sensitive little sponge he is, of course the movie frightens him to death. Only true horror fans know the classic, Night of the Robot. The next day, SpongeBob sees Mr. Krabs jamming to this absolute banger in his office. Seriously though, let's normalize listening to SpongeBob music as an adult. Sponge is convinced Mr. Krabs has been replaced by a robot solely because of that, but Squidward doesn't believe him. That is, until this salty situation. The most shocking thing about that scene is Mr. Krabs is going to give those used up batteries to Pearl for Christmas. TLC's extreme cheapskates would really have a field day with Mr. K. Squidward and SpongeBob spring into action to take out robot crabs and get the real Mr. K back safe and sound. They read a book aptly titled How to Torture and then get straight to work. And by work, I don't mean actual work, I mean the torture. Okay. Squidward and SpongeBob tie robot crabs up in the office and demand to know where the real one is. When he won't answer, Squidward slaps him and just begins to mentally torture his cheapskate boss in the worst possible way. No! After all that, it's revealed that Mr. Krabs is, in fact, Mr. Krabs. Squidward would be looking up to like 20 years for the kidnapping, 30 days for criminal property damage, and he'd get 5 years for terroristic threatening, which is basically Hawaii's legal term for torture. However, it is possible Squiddy could get off with an insanity plea since, you know, he did all of that because he thought his boss was a real robot. You probably don't recall Squidward ever trying to actually kill someone, but it has happened, sorta. It's Leif Erikson Day, but SpongeBob has nobody to celebrate with. Sticks and rocks don't make good playmates, I would know. So he creates probably the most iconic one-shot character in the history of the series. Bubble Buddy! SpongeBob and Bubble Buddy have a great fun-filled day at the expense of literally everybody else, including Squidward. Squidward, the pickle should be on the left side. And Squidward, that's Squidward? Filled with rage that he just performed excellent customer service to a literal bubble, Squid rounds up an angry mob of all those wronged by SpongeBob and his Bubble Buddy. To put a stop to SpongeBob's nonsense, Squidward grabs a pin and goes to pop the bubble, but then something totally unexpected happens. Hey, don't I got a say in this? Yep, turns out Bubble Buddy wasn't just an inanimate object after all. The dude was a real guy, and that means Squidward is now an attempted murderer. Good job! Assuming Bubble people have the same rights as everybody else in Bikini Bottom, Squidward would probably be charged with first-degree attempted murder and could be handed a 50-year life sentence. Imagine Squid telling his cellmate that he's in for trying to pop a bubble. Okay, to be fair, Squidward didn't actually intend to almost kill someone this time around, and you probably all know who that someone is. It's Employee Brotherhood Day at the Krusty Krab, and SpongeBob and Squidward must exchange gifts. Staying true to the characters, Squidward has forgotten about the whole thing, and SpongeBob has gone way over the top. It's a little itchy. What's this thing made of? Eyelashes! Hey, come on, Squiddy, it's the thought that counts. Heartbroken that his gift has been rejected, SpongeBob cries a new sweater from his tears. Poor little guy beard. Squidward leaves the restaurant to go find a gift for SpongeBob and ends up buying a pie from some sketchy-looking pirates. Turns out that pie is a bomb. Really, Squid? You couldn't have just gone back to Bargain and Mart and bought SpongeBob some bubbles or canned bread? Squidward rushes back inside to get rid of the pie, but it's too late. SpongeBob's already eaten it. Well, that's the least you can do, Squiddy. Squidward spends the whole day doing fun, or rather humiliating activities with SpongeBob to make his last day on Earth as happy as possible. That salmon suit actually looked kind of cute though, not gonna lie. The pair sit separated by a protective wall, ready to watch SpongeBob's final sunset. An explosion quickly follows, but just when we all thought SpongeBob was dead, an iconic meme was born. You are gonna finish your dessert, and you are gonna like it. So like, what happened to the bomb left on the counter? Turns out SpongeBob had been saving the bomb in his pocket the whole day. Dude, Squidward has exploded so much in the show, he must have like 9 lives. It looks like he'll probably be spending a good chunk of those lives behind bars, because in Hawaii, possessing an explosive device is a Class C felony, punishable by a 5-year maximum prison sentence and no more than 10K in fines. As for almost blowing up SpongeBob into a million pieces, yeah, that'd be attempted murder, and Squidward could be handed a 50-year life sentence. But if Squid's lawyer could convince the judge that he genuinely believed he was buying an ordinary pie for his coworker, maybe he could get off with a lighter sentence. Speaking of fiery explosions, that brings me to the final and most serious crime Squidward has committed: destroying Bikini Bottom. Sunday is Squidward's favorite day of the week, but it always ends up getting ruined by you-know-who. After waking Squidward up too early and then destroying his Sunday paper, SpongeBob tried to make things right by setting up a little club called the Good Neighbor Lodge, with Squidward as president. President Squidward does his best to get SpongeBob and Patrick as far away from him as possible, but it really doesn't work. President Squidward, almost done. My eyes! At least Squidward still has a Sunday special pedicure to look forward to. Oh, wait, never mind. No, SpongeBob and Patrick spoiled that too. What are you two doing in my house? Determined to keep out his riffraff neighbors, Squidward installs a high-tech security system, but it all goes horribly wrong. Squidward's house goes on a whole rampage of destruction, crushing everything and everyone in its path and sending Bikini Bottom up in flames. The army was no match for Squidward's house, but you can always count on SpongeBob and Patrick to save the day. Seem suspicious? At least the guy did get a bit of relaxation in the end there, though. It's difficult to see how Squidward would be charged with this crime, since entire cities rarely get destroyed in real life, thank goodness. But legally speaking, Squid could possibly be looking at charges of terrorism, arson, destruction of property, and of course, murder. Sure, we don't see anyone dying on screen, but I mean, dude, if this is real life, there's no way you don't get at least one casualty in that city. I mean, look look at it. In the show, Squidward gets handed a bill for rebuilding the city, but in reality, he'd definitely be locked away for life without parole. My question is, what type of security system was that? So, if we total up all the things that this sus-cephalopod has done in this video alone, he's looking at $290,000 in fines and 316 years in the Bikini Bottom Slammer. But how does this sketchy character compare? Click the video on screen to find out. And thank you for watching.